Good evening. My name is Katie Lauer. I am a Fayette County resident and a proud founding board member of the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum in Matewan, West Virginia. If you're joining us via Facebook or YouTube tonight, now is a great time to introduce yourself and let us know where you're from by saying hello in the comments. Welcome. We are so glad that you're here. I have the great honor of kicking off this year's Red Bandana Awards ceremony. We are now in our third year of this annual tradition, where we honor Appalachians who embody in their actions and their words what is best about our region's people. A century ago, West Virginia coal miners were given red bandanas as a piece of equipment to cover their wounds in the mines. The story goes that as the cloth absorbed the miner's blood, its already red shade would keep miners from going into shock at the sight of it. In 1921, this would-be bandage was repurposed as the uniform of striking miners headed into battle at Blair Mountain. Together, they were the Redneck Army. In recent years, the miners' symbol has been taken up once again by Southerners, by Redneck Revolt, Southern Crossroads, West Virginia Can't Wait, and our teachers and school service personnel as a marker of class solidarity, union struggle, and Southern pride. Of course, the symbol of the red bandana has also reemerged as a touchstone of our West Virginia Mine Wars Museum. It has found its way into our educational materials, museum exhibits, donor wall, and of course, this annual awards ceremony. To us, it is a reminder of where we come from and of what is possible. Each of tonight's Red Bandana Awards will be presented by a West Virginia Mine Wars Museum leader. We'll hear from dedicated board members like Wilma Steele, who will be presenting the Mother Jones Hellraiser Award, and Lou Martin and Lindsay Shade, who will be presenting the Woodson Truth Teller Award. But first, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to introduce a dear old friend and my very favorite fiddle player, Annie Stroud, who hails from Greenbrier County. We'll begin tonight with a fiddle tune from Annie. Hi, Annie, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me on here. Whoops, there's a light on, there we go. I'm gonna start with a nice little tune called Moon Behind the Hill. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. This one's from Melvin Wine.
This year's Hellraiser Award goes to two people who embody the spirit of Mary Harris Jones, also known as Mother Jones. Jones first came to West Virginia in 1897, and over the next 2 decades was threatened, shot at, and jailed while living it and organizing the miners. She said, "Pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living." And I can't imagine anybody that embodies the spirit of that award more than my friends, sisters Kathy O'Hagan and Gretchen Shaffer. This is the winner of this awards for this year. And it's to honor anybody that has that fighting spirit, those things that were important. Mother Jones did not have her legends and stories known at this time because of just a few things and a few fighting and all that, but a lifetime of work. Mother Jones had lost her husband and children to yellow fever. For the rest of her life, she fought to pass child labor laws, to get children out of the coal mines and out of the factories. She also fought for unions and for giving union workers better wages and rights to say something when something's not done for safety or what's right. Mother Jones was called to West Virginia because of the oppression and suffering of coal miners and wives and their children. 100 years later, after Mother Jones stepped foot in West Virginia soil, it was the call of children and their families that brought Sister Gretchen and Sister Kathy to southern West Virginia. Edwina Pepper had settled on the mountain and dedicated her life to preserving the land, and she loved the culture in which she lived. She founded an organization that became the Big Laurel Learning Center. There was a problem with the kids going to school in the winter. The buses, it was too bad for them to get there, so they'd miss months at a time. She was worried about their education. So she wrote to the Catholics and asked about getting somebody that would come and help teach the children. Kathy and Gretchen answered that call. They first came into Mingo County, and they established the Big Laurel Learning Center in 1976. And today, after all these years, it continues to build a stronger, healthier community, encourage education and individual works, individual spirituality, and reaching each other and forming what's important, what's missing too often in this world. They know how to do it, and it's passed on to the people that's been there and loves them. I am one of those people. It is hard to put into words the work that Gretchen and Kathy have done for all of these years. I can give you a little example of some stories that I remember and experiences. The first time I remember going up, we had a women's spiritual retreat, and a friend asked me if I wanted to go, and I wasn't for sure I wanted to go. And when I did go up there, I found people that I connected with in a deeper way. Coincidences that I just can't believe. So every year I'd go up for women's spiritual retreats, and we do things with art and music and literature and all of those things, and it became such an important part of my life. And I found that through experiencing these things, instead of worrying about the problems in my own life, it opened up my ideas more to look at things in community-based thinking more. And the spirituality grew between these connections. And instead of just worrying about my own problems and a son that had addiction problems, I started focusing on other things. And Terry and I started fighting against mountaintop removal because it was endangering our home and our life and the way we had lived and all we had fought for. So we worked against, against that, and it brought new people into our lives, young activists that was also interested in stopping these things. I remember Kathy and Gretchen, the first time I was at your place, you told us about a nun that had been there and had looked at everything that you had there and listened to your ideas about having a spiritual retreat or a programs there for families or children and those kinds of things. And she went in and went to sleep. When she got up, she told you, you should really build this retreat. You should do this. I had a dream last night that I saw people come from all over the world to visit you, to Southern West Virginia. She said, this is important. And so you did. And then a little bit later, I came. And so many of us came. And while we were there, we met people from everywhere. I can't tell you how many countries or states or any of those that I met. And now I can tell you about the young activists that I met in my own home at Matter, because it continued. It flowed from your mountain to my mountain, a desire to make a difference, a desire for people that cared about things to find their own spirituality and connect with each other and our community. And I find myself working harder and harder for the museum and the town of Matewan and all of those things and the spiritual things that has been flowed through me. And then I think about addiction and all those things that, like trouble our lives. And it's what you do about them. If you sit and worry and try to do things right and it doesn't work, sometimes you need to just take your mind and go in a new direction. And I think that's one of the things I've learned from you. Over the years, I've seen you guys do everything from writing articles to there have been press articles that have started up at Big Laurel. There have been music programs and grants for musical instruments. There's been connections with able families and all of the work that they did, including food pantry and all that you were part of. And it seems any lives that you touched has spawned community development on in new places. You reach so many places you'll never know. And so I'm so grateful to have you here. And I know that the Spirit of Mother Jones is within you because you care about the things that she did, about children, about families, about community, and the things that's beauty, that's Appalachia, and who we are. And thank you for being all that. We're so grateful to have you in our community and still spinning off those wonderful people like Grace and all the new ones I've met. So thankful. And I turn it over to you.
Yeah, you can say something.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wilma. You've been a good friend for many years. And it's been a pleasure to see the Matewan Museum take hold and be there to pass on the stories about a heroic section of West Virginia's history. I sometimes describe myself as a storyteller, and it's wonderful to see the stories being preserved and passed on. And we thank you very much for continuing to be our loyal and loving friend. Thank you.
Wilma, thank you for your words. Grace told me this was a wild ass award. Hellraiser Award. And I like being connected with Mary Jones. She was from Ireland, and as you know, the Irish don't take too kindly to things that oppress them. And so I was delighted with the introduction and what you said, and I hope I can live up to it in my next final years before I go home to the good God. keep telling stories. But thank you, and I hope you and Terry come up. You know, we're here still, and Grace helps us so much and is providing good leadership, and we still do the AANA retreats. We still do many good things. Grace and I are helping some of the children kind of right now, shockingly, to older students that are on about a second grade reading level. Wow. So we, even during COVID, we're trying to reach out with God's blessing and God's help and the Blessed Mothers. So thank you very much, and blessings on all of you, the violin player, the people that make it work down there, and God bless.
Thanks so much to you both. Thank you for joining us this evening. If there were ever 3 women that the rest of us could look to as role models for what strong, powerful Appalachian women look like, we just got to hear from 3 of them. So just a big thank you to Wilma and Kathy and Gretchen for all of your work and for being women that the rest of us get to aspire to be like. Next up, I get to introduce Lou Martin and Lindsay Shade, who are here to present the Woodson Truth Teller Award. The Woodson Truth Teller Award is for those whose work uncovers, documents, analyzes, preserves, and or disseminates significant aspects of the history of labor activism in the state, particularly in the Southern West Virginia mine wars. This includes activities like systematic artifact preservation, documentary filmmaking, and historical research and writing. Thank you to Lindsay and Lou for kicking us off and presenting this award this evening.
Thanks, Katie. The award is named for Carter Woodson, who came with his parents, former slaves, to Huntington, West Virginia in the late 1800s. Woodson was briefly a coal miner in southern West Virginia before finishing high school and going on to earn a PhD in history from Harvard. And then he became the dean of West Virginia State University in the 1920s for a short period. And he's generally considered the creator of Black History Month. This year's Woodson Truth Teller Award goes to William Isom. I met William, like I've met so many people, on a 50-mile march from Marmet to Blair Mountain. If I remember correctly, we were near the Boone-Logan County line, and I was outfitted with my water backpack and fluorescent orange vest and special hiking boots and so on. And William was walking in front of me, wearing a red bandana around his neck and carrying a 1-gallon jug of water, making it look easy. After the march, I think we became Facebook friends, and I remember particularly his posts about his family's history in Eastern Tennessee. And I remember also at some point he said, "I'm done with Facebook." And I was worried I wasn't going to get to hear from him after that. Lindsay?
So I met William shortly after I moved to Kentucky in 2012 at a mountain justice meeting at the late Jim Webb's place up on Pine Mountain in Letcher County. Some of y'all may know as Wiley's Last Resort. And I will never forget staying up late at the fire with William, where he gave me a much needed education on the history of bluegrass and multiracial solidarity in Appalachia. And that night, I feel like really cemented our friendship, and it captured a lot of what William is about: organizing, arts, storytelling, and Appalachian history, of course. William has been a key organizer in the fight against mountaintop removal. He co-founded the Hands Off Appalachia Direct Action Campaign, which resulted in UBS ultimately pulling funding from MTR projects. UBS is a Swiss bank that was one of the top 3 funders of mountaintop removal mining in the world, so that was a big deal. William also supported the corporate research for another project having to do with a certain governor who was recently reelected and is known to have a few outstanding fines related to his mine properties. William was kind enough to let me crash on his couch one weekend when we were working on that in Knoxville. And during that short weekend, I learned about maybe half a dozen other projects William was involved with. We went to a concert and art exhibit at a community arts and organizing space known as the Birdhouse, where he was the director. He was instrumental in keeping that house, which had historically been a neighborhood center, from being sold and in transforming it into an arts and activist space. He is a farmer, and so the morning after the concert, I witnessed him building raised beds for a community garden and youth program. I learned that he coordinated the community media organizing project to support grassroots media work in the Southeast. And he was also a founding member of the community media arts and education organization Melange of Appalachia, which worked on multicultural community arts programming. And his work to support community media arts and documentary history has also encompassed the fight for equitable infrastructure. He coordinated the Rural Broadband Campaign, which built a grassroots network across Tennessee that campaigned to create locally owned public internet options. And they did win some legislative change in 2017 that allowed for rural electric cooperatives to be subsidized to provide broadband. A little bit later on, I ran into William at a training for economic transition fellows working with the Highlander Center. He was sharing his work on an oral history and film project to document the Black history of Appalachia. And he taught us about the history of convict leasing and the Coal Creek War in Tennessee. So just a few things there. I'll pass it back to you, Lou.
I think it was in 2018 at the Appalachian Studies Conference in Cincinnati that I learned about William's work in the with East Tennessee PBS. He talked about trying to spotlight other projects that were happening in the region. And if I remember correctly, he talked about being inspired by the work of the Carsons, a couple who founded the Appalachian African American Cultural Center in Pennington Gap, Virginia. But he was at the conference to talk about helping to document the Southwest Virginia Black Cemetery Project. That's a project that works to locate, map, and preserve small Black cemeteries that over time have been lost or have become overgrown. Taryn Young Outsey spoke about her efforts to find some of her ancestors' graves and to restore the cemetery. It became more and more difficult over the years to maintain these cemeteries as family members moved away or new highways were constructed. Taryn and many others are trying to record these locations in a database so that they're never lost again. If I'm not mistaken, and William can correct me if I am, I believe that that's sort of where the Black in Appalachia project began, spotlighting other projects like that. According to its website, Black in Appalachia is working to highlight the history of African Americans in the development of our region and its culture through research, local narratives, public engagement, and exhibition. This project aims to raise the visibility and contributions of the Black communities of the Mountain South. Lindsay.
William began working at East Tennessee PBS producing short documentaries, including 8th of August, Tennessee's Celebration of Emancipation, and Knoxville's Red Summer, the race riot of 1919. He was recently invited by the Appalachian Center at UK to screen his new film about Knoxville's Red Summer, in which he uncovered and preserved the only known footage associated with the riots. In short, William is everywhere, telling the stories that need to be told, sharing the tools people need to tell their own stories, and fighting for justice. And I'm sure I've left something out besides all the stuff that Lou mentioned.
And now Black in Appalachia is also a podcast in their first season, reaching new audiences. Hosts Dr. Nkechi Alamin, a sociology professor, and Angela Dennis, a journalist, are sharing stories of Black Appalachians past and present. The episodes combine Alamin and Dennis's informal conversational style with more formal interviews and more serious discussions of chapters in the history of African Americans in the region. Their accomplishments and barriers, including widespread racism, topics like the Great Migration and others. William is one of the producers and contributors to the podcast. He's amassed an impressive body of work over the last decade. And for all that he's done and continues to do for the people's history of this region, we honor him with the Woodson Truth Teller Award. Congratulations, William.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Thanks for, when somebody wants to give you an award, it's a scary thing because you think maybe, oh, am I getting ready to die? Or like something, am I not doing what I'm supposed to be doing anymore? But I think for the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum and two of my great friends to be the ones presenting me that award, it means a lot. And the Truth Teller Award, when I was told that, my mind immediately went to lies, and how many of our stories, I guess really how the sustainable production of lies has moved from the front porch to more kind of corporate and high political office lately, and in a very blatant and widespread way. So I think maybe that's more of like a Wendell Berry kind of thing. We should fight for the sustainability of the front porch production of lies like we used to have. But yeah, we're going to continue to do this work. I'm extremely, extremely honored to be considered for this, and it means a lot. This work cannot be done without the work of many other people. Dr. Nkechi Alameen, Angela Dennis, Alana Norwood in Johnson City, Kathleen Kelly in Asheville, Devin Kelly in Knoxville, who does a lot of the GIS mapping stuff. So there's a lot of women who are responsible for the production of this work also, and do a lot of and provide a lot of important labor and research so that we can continue to flesh out and tell these narratives, mostly for ourselves, but also if the outside of Appalachia thinks that it's interesting, then that's good too. Thank you.
Thanks so much, William. It's great to see you. I'm glad you're here tonight. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Lou and Lindsay and to Wilma for your presentations this evening. Thank you to the always kind, always thorough, always making magic happen behind the scenes, Courtney Boyd, who is anchoring production tonight. Thank you to Kenzie and Kim and Sean, who keep the museum going in a daily way and are responsible for much of its new creation at its new storefront and the visitors that have such a positive experience there. The Red Bandana Awards and so much of the museum's work is possible because of its remarkable board and staff. 6 years ago, a group of ragtag organizers, historians, retired teachers and miners, community leaders got together to imagine and build the foundation for what is today's thriving museum. So just a huge thank you to that team. Thank you to the people who support this work daily: UMWA 1440, the Cole Heritage Area Authority, the West Virginia Humanities Council. Thank you to museum members that are watching tonight, donors, volunteers, without whom the museum's new storefront would not be possible. Thank you, for tuning in tonight and sharing this special evening with us. And thank you again to Gretchen, Kathy, William, who make us ever proud of this place that we call home. We're so, so honored to get to celebrate them tonight. If you would like to see the work of the museum continue and thrive, if you'd like to see more school groups make the visit to the museum storefront, if you'd like to see more visitors come to our state and invest in our towns, if you'd like to see Union Pride grow and thrive, and I know that you do, that's why you're watching tonight, we've got 3 opportunities for you. So this is the part to listen up. 1, Sign up to become a member of the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum for 2021. It is going to be our biggest year to date. We're hosting Blair 100. That means the museum has gathered a huge coalition of partners across the Southern coalfields for a 4-day event to honor the anniversary of the Battle of Blair Mountain. You're not going to want to miss this, and you're not going to want to miss supporting it. We're going to post a membership link in the chat right now so you can help to ensure that the celebration is a success. And as a bonus, you will get a very cool Mine Wars Museum membership card in the mail. Please sign up. This is what makes the museum work, and this is what is going to make the Centennial Celebration such a hit. 2, this Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. If becoming a museum member isn't right for you, you can make a one-time donation this Tuesday or right now that will help cover the cost of our new storefront, including our brand new, very cool archive project. So go ahead and make your one-time donation. And 3rd, make the trip. We would love to see you in 2021. Maybe you can join us on Labor Day weekend, or maybe you can pick out a weekend with one of your loved ones right now and schedule a trip to Matewan. Thank you all again for sharing your evening with us. If you want to do one more thing after this call, go ahead and thank Kenzie New Walker, our incredible museum director who has pulled us all together tonight. We look forward to be in touch. We can't wait to see you in the new year. And once again, here is the incredible Annie Stroud.
All right, I'm going to play another one from Melvin Wine and take us out with that, I guess. All right.
Thank you.